Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Siman Nun Gimel Din Haraui Lered Lifnei HaTeva. The laws of the Hazan. Okay, of the person who's going up to the Teva to be Hazan. Ubo Chavav Sa'ifim. And there are 26 halachot. Halacha Aleph. Omer Shaliah tzibur Yishtabach Me'umad. The Shaliah tzibur recites Yishtabach Me'umad while standing. This is a very big Sephardic minhag. It's not a Moroccan minhag. It's a big Sephardi minhag that the person who's reciting the Pesukei de Zimra will stop before Yishtabach, and then the Hazan will go up and say Yishtabach standing, and he's the one that started Yishtabach. Here, that's not the Moroccan custom, but rather the person saying Pesukei de Zimra finishes Yishtabach till the end, and the Hazan goes up halfway through while the other guy's reading it. But there seems to be no machloket here. Ashkenazim also. The Hazan goes up Yishtabach. So let's see what Mishnah Berurah says at the bottom. Shaliah tzibur. Kedei sheismoch lo hakadish miyad velo yitzarek leafsik benehem ba'amida lifnei hateva. Because the reason we do this is because we don't want a gap. We don't want an interruption between Yishtabach and Kaddish. We don't want, all right, who's Hazan? Look for Hazan, and Pesukei de Zimra is over, and we're still trying to find the Hazan or whatever. He's taking his time to go up. So we want him up there already from the beginning. Aval b'siman nun aleph siv zayin, be'aga, in siman nun aleph siv zayin in the Rama mashma, ta'afilu mi shemitpalel bi'chidi, even someone who's praying by himself, tzarich gam ken la'amod ba'milat Yishtabach. Seems that he writes that the person should stand with on Yishtabach regardless, even if he's praying by himself in his home. And I believe that is the custom of the Ashkenazim. Ayin be'Eliyahu Rabbah sheteretz. Look in the Eliyahu Rabbah that answers. Dehata be'minaga ve'acha medina. The difference is over there. That's a minhag. Praying by yourself, it's a minhag to stand up by Yishtabach. Hacha medina. Here it's actually a din. V'chen ktav hagra. So to the Gra writes. V'chen katav avatel zekenim. That the Anshe Maaseh, those are people of good deeds, would have the custom to stand up while they say Yishtabach, whether on Shabbat or during the week, even by themselves. Kol hatet vav shevachim b'Yishtabach, the 15 praises of Yishtabach, min shir ushbacha ad me'ata b'ad olam, yizaher me'od shelo lafsik benhen. You should be very, very careful not to pause in between them. Say them straight, consecutively, continuously. The mafsik onsho gadol, and someone who does has a big avera coming his way, big punishment. Aval en tzarich sheyeh b'neshima achat, but it doesn't need to be in one breath. It just needs to be shir u'shvacha halel v'zimra oz v'memshala netzah gedula gura teilat v'tifer kedusha malchut. Okay, so v'chen katav. I can't remember what I don't know who that Rashi Tevot is. Okay. Halacha bet on top. En lomar yishtabach ela im ken amar baruch she'amar. Uksat Pesukei de Zimra. A person should not say yishtabach unless he said baruch she'amar and a little bit of Pesukei de Zimra. All right, another short halacha. Let's go back down in the Mishnah Berurah. What does it mean? En lomar ben shaliah tzibur ben adam achar. Makes no difference if you're a Hazan or if you're another person. Yishtabach is the ending, as we're going to see, is the end bracha of what you started with Baruch She'amar. So if you didn't start Baruch She'amar, okay, then what are you ending? So that's what he says. Ela im ken yishtabach hi habracha acharona shenitkana lomar lachar Pesukei de Zimra. Yishtabach is the last bracha that was established after Pesukei de Zimra. Umatchelet belo baruch. It's a bracha that begins without the word baruch. Sometimes we have blessings that don't begin with baruch, such as Yishtabach. Ki hi semucha lebirkat baruch she'amar. Because it's samuch le baruch she'amar. The rule is, if you have one bracha that's samuch to another one, for example, ahavat olam, ahavtanu, is a bracha that's samuch to Ma'ariv Baravim before. That bracha Ahavat Olam doesn't begin with Baruch Atah Hashem. It begins with Ahavat Olam. So we have a bracha that is samuch to the one before. No, there's no Baruch Atah Hashem that starts with it. So Yishtabach is samuch to Baruch She'amar. Alken en lomar ota b'lo Baruch She'amar. Therefore, you can't say it if you didn't say Baruch She'amar, since it's connected. V'lo kato'in, and not like those who are mistaken. Shekeshehem baderech o she'ar sha'tatchak matchilim mishtabach. A lot of people that when they're on the road or whatever, or they're stuck on time, they just start with Yishtabach. What are you doing? Can't say Yishtabach without saying Baruch She'amar. Then what you're doing, you're saying bracha in vain, blessing in vain by doing so. Person has to say Amar Baruch She'amar. Alken, therefore, Avel, someone who's in mourning. Oh, next page, yard site. She'itachru lavo lebet haKnesset, that came late to synagogue. Ad karov lebaruchu, umuchrachim la'amod al kol panim lomar yishtabach lifnei hateva. So we had a guy who has a yard site. He has nachala. Now nachala, he's got to go Hazan, right? Or he's in an avelut. It's his year, and he's got the custom to go up. Now he comes late to shul, close to baruchu. He didn't say Baruch She'amar. He got yishtabach. Good, you made it. Go up. And what does he do? He's got to say yishtabach. Okay, they're forcing him. Ki asur lafsik ben yishtabach lekadish. So what should this person do? Say Baruch She'amar and Ashrei. First, same thing if the Hazan came to shul late on Shabbat. You should say those three things. Baruch She'amar, Ashrei, and Nishmat Kol Chai. Like we explained earlier in Siman Nun Bet in Mishnah Berurah Sivkat Hey.
And the Kahal waits for him?
It would seem so. It would seem that they would wait for him. If no one else is to go up, that he should.
You're not supposed to talk.
You're right. You're right. You shouldn't talk. But nevertheless, we're assuming there's no one else to be Hazan. He's the Hazan and came late to wait for him to say those things.
If Yishabach is a continuation of Baruch She'amar Lebracha, wouldn't the same person have to say it?
Which person?
Because it's dividing two berachot, it seems like. It's dividing one beracha between two people.
Everyone is saying Baruch She'amar and Yishabach.
So what happens if that person is not there for Baruch She'amar?
Which person?
The Hazan, the potential Hazan.
That's why he's saying he has to say it.
Okay.
That's why he has to say it.
I see.
Okay. Halacha Gimel on top. En levarech al atifat sisit ben pesuket zimra leishtabach ela ben ishtabach leyoser. This is actually a halacha that is very relevant right now in the middle of the winter. So sometimes in the middle of the winter, when you pray minyan, it is too early to put on your tzitzit and tefillin, right? But people have to go to work. So, for example, just before we change the clock, here's my calendar. So just before we change the clock, the earliest time for talit was written here, 6:54. Okay. So 6:54, you have a minyan at 6:45 in the morning, as we do over here, one of our minyanim, 6:45. So what do? You can't put it on before, it's too early to put on. So that's the earliest time. Although we do find some earlier opinions, but let's just say 6:54. So what do? So what we did was, we waited. We did all Psukei Zimra until Yishtabach, and then after Yishtabach, we put on our talit and tefillin. That's what Halacha Gimel says. En levarech al atifat tzitzit ben psukei zimra yishtabach. Don't say the bracha of tzitzit and your tefillin between Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach. Ela ben Yishtabach leyoser. Do it between Yishtabach and Yoser, which means after Yishtabach, before Kaddish you can do it. V'ayin lekaman siman nundal tzif gimel. Haga says Rama mihu Shaliah tzibur im lo haya lo talit echila. If he didn't have a talit, יתעטף בציצית קודם שהלכי ישתבח, כדי שאומר הקדיש מיד אחר ישתבח ולא יפסיק. So the Rama gives an exception, which would be the Shaliah tzibur, because of the inyan that we spoke about, that you shouldn't have an interruption between yishtabach and kaddish for the Hazan. You should be there for yishtabach. He's allowed to put it on before, so that he's ready to go up in yishtabach and kaddish straight. Okay. וכן אם אין מניין בבית הכנסת, if there's no מניין in the בית כנסת, ימתין השליח ציבור עם להשתבח וישתוק עד שיבוא מניין ויאמר להשתבח וקדיש. Okay, the shaliach tzibur should just wait for the minyan to come, and then you should do yishtabach and kaddish. So it seems according to the Rama, the adjacent concept of Yishtabach and Kaddish is more important than that of waiting till after Yishtabach to put on your talit and tefillin, especially when it comes to the Hazan. So let's look at the Mishnah below. It says, En levarech ala tifat tzitzir, afilu im lo haya lo talit adata, even if he had no talit until now, ve'afshu ben aprakim, even if he's in between paragraphs. So he finished Ashrei and he's before the first Hallelujah, let's say. Mikom makom, still, kevan shabaracha kaya al psuke de zimra, since the bracha that you're reciting, Baruch She'amar Nishtabach, falls on psuke de zimra, en rahui she'efsek benam ben bracha achrona ditu. Why would you interrupt it with another bracha? How can you start, Baruch She'amar is the first bracha, and Yishtabach is the last bracha, then who am I to just interrupt that with another bracha of my tzitzit or my tefillin? Makes no sense. No one would do it in another situation. The bracha reuya liot samuch lamitzvah. The bracha should be, that was close to the mitzvah. But before this, okay, then you can do it. Before psuke zimra is fine. Okay, and for sure, with regards to tefillin, specifically if a person is embarrassed, to sit without talit and tefillin. In this situation, for example, it's not an issue of time. It's just the guy doesn't have his tefillin here, or he forgot it. Someone's bringing it home, and in the middle of shul, everyone's got their talit and tefillin on. Everyone is, and you're in the middle of psuke de zimra. Okay, ben aprakim, you can put it on. It's okay. Tzitzit vehu adin leinyan tefillin. Same law with regards to tefillin. Says the Aliyah Rabbah. Person should put it on. Simkat and zayin ben yishtabach leyotzer. You should put it on between Yishtabach and Yotzer. Kol zehu davka im lo haya lo mikod. All this is only if he didn't have the tefillin from before. Di'elav hachi gam ze asur. Because if not so, you wouldn't be allowed to do this. What are you doing? You're interrupting. You had your tefillin already. You have to put in your tefillin from the beginning of tefillah. This is what the Ramah said. If you pay attention to it, you'll find it. Meanwhile, Shaliah tzibur, we said that Shaliah tzibur could make an exception, and he can put on his tefillin before Yishtabach. Dignaihu la tzibur lamtin alav ben Yishtabach lekadish, because it is inconsiderate for the tzibur to make the tzibur wait for the Hazan, to put on his tefillin. V'gama kadish ka Yishtabach, and the kadish falls on the Yishtabach that was said. Al ken itatev techev v'talit. Therefore, he should put on his talit. Vehu adin b'tefillin. Same thing with tefillin. Vivarech and say the bracha. However, im lo heviu lo talit ad lachar shegamar yishtabach kodem shamar kaddish. If they didn't bring him his talit until after yishtabach, before he said kaddish, yachol le'aniach sham ulvarech v'akal yamtinu. In that situation, okay, he only got it after yishtabach, so he puts it on and people will wait. Hoid ve'yevshar belav hachi, since it was impossible otherwise. Like we will see later on in Siman Nun Daled. We said Yamtina Shaliah tzibur. So we said if there's no minyan de beta knesset, the Shaliah tzibur shall wait. Because again, we want to put kaddish right after Yishtabach. Aval yachid yomar Yishtabach miyad. But the yachid, if someone's praying by himself, he should say Yishtabach right away. V'chem b'Shabbat, same with Shabbat. Im gamar psuket zimra kodem al Shaliah tzibur yomer Yishtabach miyad. If you are a person that likes to get ahead of the tefillah, okay, you should say Yishtabach right away. You should not delay, because you're delaying in the middle of a bracha. It's not good to delay. Veishtok, okay, should mean the Shaliah tzibur should be silent while he waits for minyan. Peru shelo yafsik bedibur, meaning he should not start talking with people. You could wait like half an hour with Yishtabach already. And the reason why it says half an hour is because that's generally how long it takes to finish all the psukei de zimra, which is pretty incredible because it takes us about 6 minutes. All right, but back then that's so much kavanah, you should take them about half an hour. Okay, va'afilu shaham achmat ones. And even if a person waited, in order to finish everything, doesn't have to go back. Yishtabach v'kadish. Then he should finally say Yishtabach v'kadish. We're on Yud Aleph. ובדיעבד, אם גמר גם כן ברכת ישתבח, ואחר כך באו מניין, if he already finished ישתבח and then the minyan came, יאמרו הכל פנים 3 פסוקים בפסוקי דזמרה. What he should do is recite 3 psukim of פסוקי דזמרה, ויוכל השליח ציבור לומר קדיש, and then the shaliach ציבור should say קדיש. כי בלאו הכי אין לומר קדיש, without that, you shouldn't say קדיש, כיוון שלא היו בעת אמירת קצת פסוקי דזמרה, או ישתבח על כל פנים. Because there was no psukei d'zimra recited or yishtabach, right? So it's good to say that. Maybe that's the reason why we repeat the last line. Habocher b'shirei zimra melech echai olamim amen. Right? Some people ela odaot. The Ashkenazim start from ela odaot. You have to say some sort of praise in order to say the kaddish. Halacha dalet on top. Shaliach tzibur tzarich yeh hagun. The Shaliach tzibur needs to be hagun, appropriate. Okay, so what does appropriate mean? So let's see what he said. Shulchan Aruch tells us, don't worry. Ve'ezu hagun, who is considered appropriate? Sheyeh rekan me'averot. He has to be empty of sins. Ve'shelo, next page. Ve'shelo yatsa alav shem ra, afilu be'yalduto. And that he never had a bad reputation, or never had a bad name against him, even when he was a kid. V'shia anav, and that he's humble. Umrutze la'am, and wanted by the people. V'yesh lo ne'ima v'kolo arev, and he has a nice voice. V'ragil likrot b'torah nevi'im uktuvim, and he is accustomed to read the Torah, nevi'im uktuvim. He reads a lot of Tanakh. Okay, that is that's halacha daled. We're going to do halacha hey 2 now, also, before we go to Mishnah Berurah, because it's very much connected. If you cannot find someone with all of these attributes, which are very, very hard to find, right? Then you should choose the best in your tzibur, in terms of wisdom, in terms of his good deeds. Says Rama Haga, if you had an amaretz, a layman, like not a learned person, and an old man, he had a beautiful voice, and the people want him. Uben yud gimel shana, and then you have a 13-year-old kid. Hamevin ma sheomer ven kolo na'im. He knows what he's saying, but he doesn't have that nice of a voice. Hakatan hu kodem. The child is first. You choose the child. More important to know what you're saying than to have the Amaretz out there that doesn't know what he's saying. Just because he has a nice voice, that doesn't give him precedence in terms of being the Hazan. Misha avar avera b'shogeg. Someone who transgressed an avera accidentally. Kemo. Sharaga nefesh bishkaga v'chaza b'tshuva. He murdered someone accidentally. So murder is probably the wrong word, but he did use harag. So he killed someone accidentally, but he did teshuvah. Mutar liyot shaliach tzibur. He's allowed to be a shaliach tzibur. Aval, yimasa b'mezid, but if he did it b'mezid, lo, cannot. On purpose, you cannot be chazan. Demikol makom yatsa alav shem ra kodem teshuvah. Because he had now the shem ra. He had the bad name on him before he did teshuvah, and therefore you can no longer be chazan. Truth is, like we say, and I'm sure Mishnah Berurah will talk about it, the Hazan is someone that represents a kahal. And, what are people going to say if a guy who murdered somebody is up there? Like, do I want this guy representing me or not? Answer's probably no. That's why that's why he shouldn't go up. Okay, there's more criteria, but let's do the Mishnah Berurah first. Okay, so back on the previous page at the bottom, Siv Katan Yud Bet, Tzarich. Tzarich, dichtiv, the pasuk says, Natena alai bekola, al ken senetia. She gave upon me with her voice, al ken senetia, and that's why I hated her. V'amru Hazan, the rabbis tell us, Zeh shaliach tzibur she'eno hagun. This pasuk is in reference to a shaliach tzibur that is not proper. Beautiful voice, she attracted me with her voice, but that's why I hate her. Now, Sefarim and the books, He'erichu me'od, begodel gnut hamemanim shalei tzibur she'eno hagun, on the distaste and the wrongfulness of appointing a shaliach tzibur that is not proper. The Sfarim go to length about this. Kimon'im al yedeh tov mi Israel, because you're preventing the goodness of coming to Klal Israel. You're a person who is allowing a Shaliah tzibur to go up. It's like he's robbing the kahal. He's praying on their behalf, and these prayers aren't really going anywhere. So you're preventing any good to fall upon the Jewish people. Yud Gimel Hagun ve'ra'ui sheyeh bigdei Shaliah tzibur arukim shelo yira'u raglav. The clothing of the Shaliah tzibur should be long, so that his feet are not seen. Ve'ikanes lebet ha'knesset rishon ve'yetze acharon. Shaliah tzibur should be first to shul and last to leave. Ve'lo yeh tipesh ve'sachal, and he shouldn't be an imbecile. Ela sheyeh yuchal ledaber be'iskei ha'kahal kefi ma shetzarich. Rather, he should be able to speak with the people to see what they need, what they want. Tov le'ader achar Shaliah tzibur tzadik ben tzadik. It's good that when you find a Shaliah tzibur, you should find one that's a tzadik ben a tzadik, righteous man, the son of a righteous man. Ki eno domeh tefilat tzadik ben tzadik litfilat tzadik ben rasha. Because the prayer of a tzaddik ben tzaddik is cannot be compared to that of the tzaddik ben rasha, much higher level. Tzaddik ben tzaddik. Where do we see this? Anyone know where we see this? By Yitzchak and Rivka, next week's parasha, when they're praying for children, they both go in separate corners to make their prayer. Okay, Rashi says she went bezavitzu, he went bezavitzu. And the pasuk says, "Vayatel lo Hashem." Hashem, attached himself to his prayer. Lo. Rashi says, why him, not her? Because he's tzaddik ben tzaddik and she's tzaddik ben rasha. So the prayer of Yitzchak was more powerful because of that. So if possible, Uma shekatav harosh. That which the Rosh wrote, that the greatness of the Shaliah tzibur is not dependent on the yichus of mishpacha, like on the family or the type of family that he's from. And because even if he's from a family that is not considered a degraded family, but he's a good tzaddik, okay, then rather someone who is a relative of yours, but mizar rechokim, but he's distant from the truth. Rotze lomar gam ken rak sheno miyuchas. So again, even if his family is not considered the best family, but he's a tzaddik and he's a good guy, then take him. Aber mikom makom en aviv rasha. Try to have his father is not rasha. Okay, family's not so great. Okay, but if the father's a rasha, try to avoid. En mumin poslin ela bekohanim v'lo b'shliach tzibur. A blemish of a person. So, for example, if a person is missing toes or has an extra finger or whatever, that does not posel a Shaliah tzibur. Shaliah tzibur who has 11 toes can go up and be Shaliah tzibur. It is posel kohen, but it's not posel Shaliah tzibur. B'adrabah, the opposite. Pasuk says, "Lev nishbar v'nitkeh Elohim lo tivzeh." Right, a broken heart, Hashem doesn't shy from. V'yesh machmirin bazeh lechatechila. There are those that are machmir when it comes to this. Hechad ikarui ve'agun ke'otzebo. When there is someone that is unblemished, right? There are those that are machmir. V'ayina kama m'sif katam mem aleph l'inyan tzuma mashikavnu sham. He goes, let's look at Sif katam mem aleph. We'll see with regard to a blind person. This person needs to be empty me'averot, from a sin, empty from sin. Ha'over ala shavua en beito rekam. If someone transgresses an oath, then his house is not empty, meaning he's got a problem. Even though that they haven't really testified yet on him, He has to worry about that people are going to start talking, and rumors will swirl that this guy broke a promise. Even if he only transgressed something that was going to happen in the future, you shouldn't appoint him as Shaliah tzibur. עיין שם. כתב שם עוד בשם משפט צדק, דמישהו פסול מחמת עבירה, פסול להיות שליח ציבור אפילו באקראי. Someone who is forbidden, disqualified because of a certain avera, for example, he's a gambler, therefore he can't testify, these people shouldn't be Shaliah tzibur, even באקראי, even by happenstance. וכתב פרי מגדים, היינו דווקא בשלא עשה תשובה. It's only when a person doesn't tshuva. If he does teshuvah, then it doesn't apply to him anymore. We also said another criteria is shelo yasa alav shem ra, that a all right. So sorry, v'shelo yasa alav shem ra. The last line Mishnah Berurah. Davka lemanoto lechatechila. This is talking about appointing him from the beginning. Aval aviro usaleko achar shehuzak shaliach tzibur enanu. But if to remove him after it was established that we have no Shaliah tzibur, kevan shelo nishma alav ata meuma. It's not a problem because we didn't hear of this until now. So b'diavad it's fine once he's up there. Mihu kishiyatza alav ata shemna v'hu kala delo pasik. If his bad name is going around and this rumor doesn't stop, afilu yachid moche alav le'aviro. Even a yachid should get up and try to protest to get him out. V'ayin lekaman b'siv kafei. Look later on in Siv Kafei, Bebur Alacha, Masha Kadavdum Baze, what I wrote. And even if it was clarified that with witnesses that he sinned, but if he did teshuvah, then we don't take him out regardless, no matter what. Beyalduto, we said here when he was a child, even though he did teshuvah on this thing that has his bad name on, shouldn't appoint him. Shaliah tzibur shekvar heviru, a shaliah tzibur that they already removed. Ve'amad kach yamim v'shanim be'askamat ha'kahal, v'rotzim achshav lemanoto, havek kitchilat kabbalah ve'afilu mi'ut yicholim limchot. Right? Even after many years, they decide to appoint him. You can protest. Imamochim hem amanhigim, and if the protesters are the leaders, have kilu mochim kol kahal. This is like the whole kahal is protesting. Im lo b'makom sheyesh borerim v'yesh takana shelo shanot gzeratam az en mo'il mechad ha'parnasim. If it's not in a place where there is clarification to the matter, v'yesh takana shelo shanot gzeratam, and then there's a decree, there's a takana that you cannot change whatever decree was put in, so it makes no help the parnasim that might want to protest, that want to protest this. I guess there's different situations, I guess, in certain towns that might have had rules involved about people that wanted that weren't allowed and then were replaced. So if it was okay to do so, then again maybe the protest doesn't matter much. But if not, then they want to protest, and I guess they have the ability to pull him back down. We haven't gotten to that point yet. La'am, he has to be anav, and he has to be wanted by the people. Katav v'tshuvad mara means Yizayer Hazan. Hazan should be careful. Im yesh riv u'ktatab ben shnei ba'alei batim, that if there is a fight between two ba'alei batim, two people in the shul, sheyeh b'shev ve'al taseh, he should take the stance of shev ve'al taseh, which means sit, don't do anything. Keep your mouth shut, don't get involved, don't take sides. Hen bedibur, hen b'maaseh, hen begalui, hen b'aseter. Whether that is actually speaking, or action, or what is revealed, or what is done in private. V'kol sheken, im yesh isek riv im adam acher, she'eno me'a'ir im balabayit, if there is a business fight between one man who's not from the city and the owner of the shul, she'eh b'shev ve'al taseh, also shev ve'al taseh. V'afilu imoto adam hu mechutano, or karov shelo, and even if that man happens to be a relative of his, shev ve'al taseh, don't do anything. V'im yesh lo shum ketet ve'eva im echad me'akahal, and if he has a little argument with someone from the kahal, az sarich la'amin et hadavar libnei harav o hakahal לפשר ולעשות ככל אשר לנכון. He has to bring it up to the attention of the rabbi or to the whole congregation. To come with a pshara is a compromise, and so that it will be done what is good in the eyes of everyone. But if there is something lacking or preventing from him from doing so, then I guess he's clear. There's nothing really else he can do. He has to be familiar with the text of Tanakh. Because what we're quoting in a tefillah is mostly psukim from Tanakh. It's not from Gemara or Mishnayot. So you have to know what you're saying. You have to know these psukim in Tanakh. And if a person, besides that, if a person is not accustomed to reading psukim, then he falls in the category of Mesir Ozno Mishmeo Torah, of someone who removes his ear from listening to Torah. Pasuk in Mishle, Gam Tfilato Toeva, his tefillah is considered an abomination. Kata Pri Megadim, Siman Tav Kuf Pei Aleph, Siman Sif Aleph, Ita de Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim, Ba'ina She'en Nasui. When it comes to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we need that this person needs to be married, Uben Shloshim, and 30 years old. Umashma, Bishari Mot Hashanah Afilu Eno Nasui. It seems from there we can imply that the rest of the year he doesn't need to be married, because it's only Rosh Hashanah where we have this criteria. However, Mishnah Berurah says, it seems to me that a married person gets precedence to be Hazan than a Bahur, than a student or a non-married. Even if the student has his beard grown out, as we're going to see in next siman, next seif, nevertheless, the married person should get precedence. Okay. Who called them? This is now halacha hey, but it's Mishnah Berurah at the bottom. We said that remember that when you're of a choice between the Amma Aretz, who is older but has a nice voice, and the young guy who doesn't have a nice voice but he knows what he's talking about, choose the young guy. Who called him? So afilu liyot shaliach tzibur kavua, even to be the permanent shaliach tzibur. As long as he's 13 years old and he has 2 pubic hairs, he's good. This person, mutar liyot shaliach tzibur. We said that a person that did an avera by accident, like you said, he killed someone and then he did teshuvah, mutar liyot, he can be shaliach tzibur. Delo mikre en pirko na'eh ela davka shaya muad la'asot dvarim shena memuganim. We only don't consider him when he's constantly doing, he's muad, he's familiar with doing bad things. About Misha Baliado, someone that accident, whatever, he got a car crash, hit somebody, God forbid, and he regretted it and he feels bad. He's a tzaddik amur to everything else. You can point to shaliach tzibur. But if he did it b'mezid, he did it on purpose, Mishnah Berurah says, "Lav davka harag." Not only in the situation where he killed someone. They what in shar averot. Any avera they did, he stole. He spoke lashon hara purposely. Harez ukdil el b'siv dalid, like we said earlier in siv dalid. V'ayin shelo yatsa alav shem ra afilu miyaduto. That the person can't have a shem ra, a bad name, even from his youth. That situation is because he did things on purpose. Even from his youth, he was a naughty kid, and doing things on purpose, the guy doesn't go up. But we said if he did b'mezid lo, then mikol makom yatsa alav shem ra kodem teshuvah. Says in Mishnah Berurah, look at the Magen Avraham she'evi b'shem harbe poskim, who brings in the name of many poskim, da'afilu b'mezid, even if he did it b'mezid, kol sheshav share. Anybody that did teshuvah, he's allowed the shaliach tzibur kavua. He could be the permanent shaliach tzibur. The Magen Avraham says only with regards to a ta'anit tzibur, to be chazan on a fast day, right, when there's extra tefillot involved because of reasons that you're fasting, that's when we require somebody to have a good reputation from when he was a child. He holds that even the chatchila, you can have the guy go up even if he had a bad reputation. As long as he repented. And that's what the Prig Meradim brings the Eliyah Rabbah l'alacha. V'katav Eliyah Rabbah, v'yamim noraim akol panim yesh lachmir ladun kedin ta'aniyot. On Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, then we should be strict like the fast days. Meaning, if the guy has a bad reputation, even if he did teshuvah, don't put him up. Better put the tzaddik. Because truthfully, even in the rest of the year, there are many de'ot regarding the poskim. All this is with regard to not appointing him from the start. But if you put him up and the guy did teshuvah, for sure you don't take him down. It's embarrassing. If you have a Shaliah tzibur that he was caught to have terefa, right? Not just eating terefa, but just either selling terefa, whatever it is, he cannot. We pull him out from Shaliah tzibur. Deshuv darninan, because we mezid, we judge him like a mezid, like he did it on purpose. Because once you start, you keep on finding this guy has tarif over and over again. Okay, it's no longer an accident. It must be that this guy is doing stuff with terefa, and therefore we have to judge him purposely. The pri megadim is even in doubt, even if they found it once, whether or not we should judge him as a mezid. But again, if the guy did teshuvah, and even if he, found among him many terefot, then we don't pull him down. We don't pull him down because he did teshuvah. Okay, we'll stop the halacha portion here.